I am going to now welcome our third speaker of the night. We'll do who won the competition right after the talks, right after the panel talk. I really want to give you guys to please give a big, huge welcome to Raluca. Radu, who came all the way from Romania to join us. She's such a special guest to us, and I'm just really grateful for her being here. And I'm gonna hand you over to her. Yeah.
Okay, so this is working. Hello. Yes, as Anu was saying, I came all the way from Bucharest. My name is Raluca Radu. I run a digital marketing agency in Romania. I'm a digital marketing geek. I've been working in SEO and PPC for 18 years, mostly e-commerce. What I'm going to talk to you today about is actually more about strategy, just as the title says here. So what I would like you to do, and I would like myself to do more often actually when I'm doing PPC campaigns, is to take a step back and to actually think more about the overview of the campaign. The main idea will be to keep a very fresh mindset when you are setting campaigns, and also we will talk about a new media plan approach that we are using at MTH Digital. So, why are we talking about strategy? I think it's pretty obvious that right now in PPC and in analytics and in everything connected to digital marketing actually, ChatGPT and AI are leading the way a lot, and we as marketers are trying to keep up. We have performance max, we have conversion campaigns in meta ads and so on, and it all is actually getting to look more and more like a black box. It's like you put in your performance max campaign, for example, creatives, text, audiences, and what you are getting out at the other end, what you are expecting to get out there is actually conversions, cost of customer acquisition, a good return on ad spend, and so on. So this is how digital marketing looks like right now, or at least this is how it looks like right now for my colleagues and for my clients. This is what I notice a lot. It's like, okay, I've put this budget into this performance max campaign and it's not working. What can I do about it? And it's not actually clear. It's like, okay, you're going to change something, you don't get many statistics, exactly as Agnes was saying before. Okay, more and more in e-commerce, as I was saying that I also work in e-commerce, this is how the creatives look like a lot. I don't know how it's around here in United Kingdom, but yes, I think from what the ads are targeting me look like, it is exactly like this. It's like 30% discount, buy now, and so on. You get an extra something. And the focus is a lot on cost of customer acquisition, return on ad spend, cost per lead, cost per sale, however you call it. So it's a lot focusing on these metrics and on getting the customer to buy now. And this is the context we are in now. And I always find myself and my colleagues focusing so much on this return on ad spend that I feel like we are really missing the point of the strategy. Because if we look at the conversion funnel there, what is actually going on when you are telling the Google or Meta algorithm to give you conversions, what is actually going on is that the algorithm is focusing on the bottom of the funnel. Obviously. Of course, you can exclude remarketing, you can exclude your own visitors, but what is actually going on is that you're pushing the clients that already know about your brand, that maybe are already searching for your products and services, that already are in the process of evaluating whether to buy. So this is why I think that if we focus so much on this and on conversions, we are actually missing the point a lot. And at some point we are mixing the same audience, we are bombing it with the same messages to buy right now, and at some point nothing else is getting into the funnel. And I think this is right now a very big challenge. Just as before Ito was doing the same analogy with the recipe, I don't cook actually, but I also made the same analogy. When I think about strategy, I don't think about pizza here, I think about an omelette. It's obvious that we were both hungry. So, yeah. But as I'm saying, I'm not cooking, but I think it's very important to always try to think of these steps. And whenever I feel that my campaigns aren't working, I try to do exactly this, to take a step back and to look for some ingredients. So I think it's very important, first of all, to understand that even though we are doing very technical PPC, we are actually targeting some buyer persona profiles. And it's very important to understand that, yes, I am targeting a person that is searching a certain key phrase on Google, but at the same time, I have to realize that that person is, I don't know, maybe a mother, maybe a young professional who is trying to get ahead in the industry he's working on, or such things. So it's very important to understand that profile. And the better you understand it, the more tailored your message will be to that audience. So it's not only about I'm selling a 30% off shirt of I don't know which brand. It's more about this shirt is going to give you, I don't know, maybe the status you need, is going to help you on the date you have on Friday evening, if you're not at PPC Live UK, as we are right now. So yeah, so it's very important to know who you are talking to, and I think that analytics can still help us with that. GA4 also, user surveys are also helping us with this. Social reviews, social comments, and so on are also giving us a lot of insights into this, and I think it's a basic step that we should not forget when we are doing our campaigns. Another important thing in order to tailor this message is to understand who you are, what you are selling, what your client's product is if you are on the agency side, and to understand what the strengths and weaknesses of that product are. And usually these are not 30% off, like, yeah, that is a message, but other than that, why is that person buying the shirt? Because they have a date, because they have a presentation, because they want to feel comfortable, I don't know. Another important thing here is to know your competitors, and for this we have so many tools we can use in digital. I'm still a fan of SimilarWeb Pro, for example, because it shows you a lot from the ad library of your competitors, and also from their marketing channels, marketing campaigns, keywords, and such things. So I think that the message of your campaign, whether it is simply a Google ad or it's a newsletter or whatever piece of digital marketing it is somewhere in at the intersection of these three factors: who you are and what your brand is offering, who the customer is and what they are looking for, and what are your competitors communicating. It's also important to understand, when you are looking into the competitors, who exactly your competitors are. Because it's not always that competitor that you are looking at. For example, if you're selling online fashion, you're not competing with ASOS all the time. You may be competing for some customer with the idea of not buying something to wear, for example, for an event, because their budget is going somewhere else. So it's important to understand the direct competitors, and those are the competitors that your buyer persona perceives, and to look at what they are communicating actually. Okay, so we have all of this, we are mixing it up there, and then I think that the next step would be to understand the channels you are looking at. So yes, we are into PPC, so we are talking mostly about this, but I think it's also important to realize when you are making decisions whether to go into Google, Bing, Meta, Instagram, Pinterest, and so on, it's very important to not only make decisions based on data. Of course, data helps not only on data like when we are looking at return on ad spend and such things. I think it's also important, for example, as a brand, to realize that you want to get a new target audience segment, for example. You want to get your message across a certain buyer persona profile. And in this case, maybe that buyer persona profile is on a certain channel that you aren't targeting at the moment, and on that channel, maybe it's more inexpensive to get to that audience. And on whichever channels you go, it's very important to adapt your message to that context. And I think this is the main ingredients and the main recipe steps in order to think of campaign. What changes actually when you are starting to think about the whole landscape of your strategy is that you are no longer just following those customers that are there at the bottom of the funnel, because this is what happens when you are putting so much pressure on the result, on the agency, on the specialist, on the algorithm. If you are the specialist, what is going on is that everyone targets the bottom of the funnel. More importantly, if you start thinking about your audience more than about your keywords and more than about your results, you will realize actually that you have a relationship pipeline that you are going through with each one of your buyer persona segments. And each buyer persona segment is going through this relationship, through this funnel. It's the same thing, but it's just happening horizontally here. So you are going through them within a relationship, and that relationship is shorter, longer. Sometimes you have a conversion, sometimes you don't, but changing the mindset like this actually helps you get better results. And I also think that it helps you understand the results in terms of the bigger picture. Not only focusing on the cost of customer acquisition right now and the return on ad spend right now, but changing the perspective and thinking more in terms of the whole lifetime value will actually help you get more sales, get a more loyal customer base. Why is it happening? For example, if I'm focusing on having if for example I'm having recurring orders and I have customers who buy every month, maybe my return on ad spend right now to get a customer to buy for the first time from me is more expensive than to get a customer that already knows me. It makes sense. But on the other hand, on the long run, it is much more effective for me. And I get my money back if I look at the return on ad spend per customer lifetime value, comparing what the customer lifetime value is for that whole lifetime of the customer, because he's making recurring orders, and I am comparing it to the total marketing costs, taking into account all the channels and all the costs of these channels. A way of looking at media plans from this point of view, and this is something that we are starting to do a lot at our agency, is not splitting the media plan into channels, into different channels, and saying, for example, that I have £500 for Google, let's say, a very small customer, 400 for Meta, and I don't know, 100 for Pinterest or something. What we are trying to look at right now is each month, what is the budget amount allocated per each buyer persona profile? Because, for example, maybe I want to expand the business and I am already very well known for the mother's media profile, for example. I am very well known for the youngsters, but I want to tap into other markets. And then this month, maybe I allocate my budgets into those buyer persona profiles. Also, what we are doing for each buyer persona is to divide that allocated budget into the stages of the funnel. So we are dividing the budget into budget meant only to get brand awareness, to put our brand in front of this buyer persona, budgets that are meant to get them on our website and to get them to evaluate the products, the services, or whatever we want them to see, and budgets that are meant for conversion. What we actually get through this is that we always get new people into the funnel, or at least it keeps us into this mindset that we always need to get new customers into the funnel, new audiences, and so on. And it's also important to measure it. In my experience, this is what is happening when we are telling our clients that we need brand awareness budgets. We get some budgets there, but at the end, we are still measuring, for example, conversions, cost per conversions, return on ad spend, and so on. We are looking if these budgets translate into conversions right now. We aren't really measuring if these budgets that we got right now brought us, for example, newsletter subscribers, or got us a certain type of client that spent an average time on site that is higher than other clients, that have a higher engagement rate and so on, and we aren't looking at what is going on in the next few months. So I know it's hard from the agency side to explain this to the customer, but what we noticed is that ever since we are splitting it this way and we are actively measuring it and optimizing the costs, actually our clients are much more open to this. And what we managed is to get some brand awareness metrics to move up. So this is very, very nice. When I'm talking about buyer persona profiles, I'm not necessarily an expert in buyer persona profiles, but what I'm always trying to get from the data in analytics, in SimilarWeb Pro and so on, and also from actually seeing and observing the customers and looking at the reviews and comments and so on, is to actually get more than their demographic profile, to try to understand what are exactly their values, their motivations. As I was saying in the beginning, are they buying that t-shirt for a date? Are they buying it in order to feel comfortable? Do they just buy it on impulse because the ad was so nice, hopefully? Are they buying it because, I don't know, it's something about related to status, for example, or they have a presentation or something important to them? And in order to get this data, we have several tools, as I was saying, and also Ito and Agnes mentioned some of them. But I would like to just say that for me, SimilarWeb Pro, analytics, and the audience reports that are changing a bit in GA4 are the most useful when you try to mix them and mix the data and see, for example, whether people who are browsing several types of websites are also browsing other categories of websites and making such correlations. And then I go to social media reviews, I look at what people are saying about the brand and product, and I'm trying to use my intuition and empathy in order to test then various message hypotheses. So in my opinion, this work is about data, but it's still a lot about empathy and pure guesswork. But if you test that guesswork, you usually get very useful insights. In terms of the message, as I was saying in the beginning, it's very important to look for this intersection. What others aren't communicating, what we have and what we offer, and what the client is looking for. And to try to go above and beyond that, I don't know, a percentage of discount and so on. Whenever you craft that message, I think it's very important to see whether the buyer persona resonates with it. And the simple trick that we are using in the agency is what I was saying before, looking at social comments, social reviews, at the exact words in the product reviews, for example, on Amazon for those products, and to use those words and exactly those concerns that the customer has in the ads. And this has usually got us higher CTRs. Whenever we are doing a certain ad, another distinction that I think is very important is to understand what the purpose of the ad per se is. Because of course, maybe you want to attract new audience, maybe, yes, you want them to buy at the end of the day, but it's very important to realize what context you are in. Is it a very crowded context? Is it, for example, a publishing website, a content website where the user is searching for information? What are you trying to do with that ad? Are you just trying them to remember your brand, or are you trying to get them on your website and to draw their attention? Coming back to our media plan, we are always looking at, from this buyer persona perspective, at each of the stages. And I was saying that in order to simplify it, I split it in 3 stages: the brand awareness and generating interest stage, the activation stage, and the conversion stage. For each of these stages, you have several formats and placements that are very, very okay for that purpose. What we are also trying to see every month is how to split that budget for each buyer persona profile through these stages. We sometimes decide that maybe we are tapping into a new market, so it's important to allocate 90% of the budget in generating interest, and maybe we aren't allocating anything in generating conversions this month. Maybe another month or for another buyer persona profile, we know we are well known in that buyer persona profile market, and we are allocating most of it for generating conversions. But it's very important, in our opinion, to use this mindset and to also combine it with the various formats and placements. Because, for example, it's very, very difficult, in my experience, to get in Google Ads or in Meta Ads, ads that are targeted at certain different buyer persona profiles that have different purposes. They are starting to overlap, they are starting to get your metrics crazy and so on. So sometimes it's useful, for example, to use Meta for awareness and Google for conversion, and to mix them up like this. So these are just suggestions of channels. For each of these stages, it's very important, as we all know, to also measure different metrics. These are also still just suggestions in the KPI column, but we are trying to educate ourselves to measure what matters. Because if I'm doing a brand awareness campaign and measuring conversions, it really defeats the purpose. I will say that the campaign wasn't good, or I'll decide that the creative was better than the other, and it wasn't like that. So what we are looking for when we are trying to generate interest, we are looking at impressions, reach, of course, but we are looking in analytics at the engagement rate on the website, at the average time on site, and of course on the subscription rate, for example, for the newsletter or for, downloads of an ebook and use of a certain tool. We are also looking how many of these people got to the article level, to the page level, to the content level. So people that didn't just stop on the home page or on a category page. When we do campaigns for activations, we are looking at the click-through rate, conversion rate, and of course we are here measuring micro conversions, not just the final conversion that we all want. And obviously for the conversion campaigns, we are focusing on return on ad spend, cost of customer acquisition, and my personal new favorite is trying to implement profit on ad spend. A lot of our e-commerce customers are working on this in GA4, and I think it's much smarter. It's more complicated and you have to work to implement the metrics in analytics, but like this you really know whether that sale was profitable for the end customer, so it makes a lot of sense. In terms of creatives also, I honestly couldn't find the best examples, but the point is important. When I'm trying to generate interest, it's very important to use a creative that is simple and is presenting the main unique selling proposition of my brand. And from all our A/B tests, it is like this. When I want them to come to my website, you should have a clear call to action, but not necessarily sale. Because yes, sales is used for the conversion stage, but only there. So in a nutshell, I think this type of media plan, whenever you are using it, whether you are using it before starting a campaign or maybe at the end, when you've already implemented it and you want to measure the results, it will bring you exactly this, it will bring you amazing insights, in fact. It will help you think more strategically and evaluate your creatives and your campaigns from this point of view. Also, it will help you tap into new audiences, see how well you tapped into certain audiences, and so on. So I think it's pretty useful. This was my presentation. You have there a QR code that will take you to my YouTube channel, Digital Branch. So if you want other digital marketing tips from me, that is my YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raluca.